A kind nurse helped a stranger in the rain, then found out who he really was. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Have you ever done something kind for a stranger, not knowing how it would change your life? Well, that's exactly what happened to Anna Monroe. Let's go back to the moment when it all began. The days passed, and Anna's life continued in its usual routine, filled with the chaos of hospital shifts and the constant weight of her financial struggles. Despite the long hours and exhaustion, there was something about caring for people that kept her going. But that night, as she entered the private suite to care for Grant Carter, everything felt different. She had thought nothing could surprise her anymore, but as she stood over him, adjusting the tubes and 4 drips, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply familiar about this man. The man she had helped in the rain just a few nights ago, was it really him? The tall, elegant figure who had seemed like a stranger, now lying unconscious, surrounded by machines and sterile white sheets? She wasn't sure. The world felt like it was shifting beneath her feet. Her thoughts raced as she moved silently around the room, making sure everything was in order for the night shift. The quiet hum of the machines was almost comforting. It wasn't until she heard the faintest movement that her heart skipped a beat. Grant's hand twitched. Anna froze. Could it be? Was he waking up? Her fingers hovered over his wrist, the pulse steady beneath her touch. She hesitated, wondering if it was just a muscle spasm, but then, his fingers shifted ever so slightly. She didn't know what to do. She had never cared for a coma patient who seemed so aware. She called out, pressing the button for the doctor on her wristwatch. "Dr. Harris, I think he's moving. Can you come in?" Her voice was soft, but it felt urgent. She couldn't be sure, but something told her that this was the moment when everything was about to change. A few minutes later, Dr. Harris arrived, his steps echoing in the hallway as he entered the room. His sharp eyes scanned Grant's condition quickly. "What is it, Anna?" he asked. "His hand. Just now, did you see that?" Anna pointed to the movement. Dr. Harris took a step closer to the bed, inspecting Grant more carefully. He placed a hand on Grant's shoulder and checked the monitor. Then, he looked back at Anna. "It's possible. We'll need to run some tests in the morning. But this is promising. Let's keep a close watch." Anna nodded, trying to ignore the fluttering in her chest. She couldn't believe it. Grant Carter, the elusive billionaire who had been in a coma for nearly a year, might be waking up. It was too surreal. After Dr. Harris left, Anna stayed by Grant's side, her thoughts a whirlwind. She couldn't help but feel a deep connection to this man now. It wasn't just the fact that she had helped him in the rain. It was the sheer vulnerability of his condition. It was a stark contrast to the cold, powerful figure she had seen in the media. This man was just a person, lying helpless, completely unaware of the world around him. She let out a long breath and sat down in the chair beside his bed. "I hope you wake up soon," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "There's so much I want to know about you." She didn't expect a response, of course, but as she sat there in the dim light, she felt something shift in her. This wasn't just about taking care of a patient anymore. It felt personal. She couldn't explain it, but she cared about him, more than she should have. The next morning, she returned to his room, her shift starting early. She walked in, hoping to see some progress. But when she approached the bed, she was stunned to find Grant's eyes open, looking directly at her. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. His gaze was sharp, like he was seeing her for the first time, and yet there was something familiar about it. "Anna," he said, his voice hoarse from disuse. The sound of his name on his lips was almost unreal. She blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift. "You're awake," she whispered, barely able to process it. Grant smiled weakly, but there was an intensity in his eyes that Anna couldn't quite place. "I remember you," he said quietly. "You were the one who helped me in the rain." Anna's heart skipped a beat. He remembered. She hadn't imagined it. The man in front of her was the same person she had helped that night. The billionaire. The CEO. The one who had seemed so distant from her world. But now, here he was, awake, looking at her with recognition. "How are you feeling?" Anna asked, her professional instinct kicking in, though her emotions were running wild. "Better," he replied, his voice gaining strength. A little confused, but I remember everything. His gaze softened as he looked at her. Thank you for helping me. I never got the chance to properly thank you. Anna's chest tightened at his words. She wasn't sure how to respond. How could she explain the strange mix of emotions she was feeling right now? A part of her wanted to scream in excitement, but another part of her was terrified. What did this mean for her? For him, he was a billionaire, and she was just a nurse. How could someone like him ever truly connect with someone like her? As Grant looked at her with genuine gratitude, Anna felt something else. Something deep within her began to stir. She couldn't ignore it. The lines between patient and caregiver were starting to blur, and she wasn't sure where it would all lead. The days following Grant's awakening were a blur for Anna. She found herself back at his side every day, watching him make slow, but steady, progress. At first, his recovery seemed almost miraculous. His movements became less rigid, his mind sharper, and his voice stronger. But as he began to regain more of his strength, Anna couldn't help but feel the weight of her own emotions growing heavier. The man she had helped in the rain, the man she had never imagined would become a part of her life, was no longer just a patient. He was someone she genuinely cared for, and yet, she couldn't ignore the gap between their worlds. As days passed, their conversations grew deeper, more personal. Grant began sharing stories about his life before the accident, the empire he had built, the sacrifices he had made, the relationships he had lost. Anna listened intently, offering her quiet support as he spoke. She could see the vulnerability in his eyes, something that was often masked behind his wealth and power. For the first time, he wasn't the untouchable billionaire. He was just a man, trying to piece together the fragments of his past. But the more they talked, the more Anna realized that something was shifting inside her. She had come to care for him deeply, more deeply than she had ever expected. One evening, after Anna had helped Grant with his physical therapy exercises, they sat together in the quiet of his room, the sun setting outside. The orange light filtered through the blinds, casting soft shadows on the walls. Grant turned to her, his gaze intense, as if he had been waiting for the right moment to speak. Anna, he said, his voice low, I need to thank you again. You've been here for me, day in and day out, when no one else was. You've helped me heal in ways I didn't think were possible. Anna felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words, but there was also a pang of unease. I'm just doing my job, she said quietly, looking down at her hands. I'm glad I could help. But Grant wasn't satisfied with that answer. He reached out, gently placing a hand on hers. It's more than that, he said, his voice firm. You've been my anchor. You've shown me that there's more to life than just business and success. I didn't know what I was missing until I met you. Anna's heart raced as she looked up at him, her pulse quickening. She had never expected him to say something like that, especially after everything they had been through. She wanted to pull away, to remind herself that he was still a patient, and she was still his nurse. But she couldn't. There was something between them, something she couldn't ignore any longer. Grant, she whispered, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he replied, his eyes softening. I just wanted you to know that I'm grateful. And I want you to know that when I'm fully recovered, I want to do something for you. Something real. The weight of his words hung in the air, and for the first time since he had woken up, Anna felt a spark of hope, a hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a future for them beyond the confines of his hospital room. But even as that hope bloomed, doubt crept in. What could someone like her offer someone like him? She was just a nurse, a woman who had been raised in a small town with big dreams, but little opportunity. He was Grant Carter, a man who had everything, and yet seemed to be searching for something deeper. The realization made her feel small. She couldn't deny the growing attraction between them, but she didn't know how to reconcile that with the realities of their lives. Grant, I can't promise you anything, Anna said softly, pulling her hand away from his. I don't know what this is or where it's going, but I can't let myself get lost in something that isn't real. Grant's expression softened, and he gently cupped her cheek. I understand, he said, his voice tender. But don't shut me out. We don't know what the future holds, but I believe we can figure it out together. Anna's breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, she felt completely vulnerable. She didn't know what was happening between them, but she couldn't deny the feelings that had begun to grow. As she looked into his eyes, she realized that this wasn't just about his recovery. It was about something more. Something that could change both of their lives forever. The days that followed were a whirlwind for Anna. Each morning, she found herself waking up with a sense of anticipation, but also anxiety, unsure of what the day would bring. As Grant continued to recover, the bond between them grew stronger. It was no longer just about his physical healing. Anna began to realize that her feelings for him were deepening in ways she hadn't expected. She could no longer deny the pull between them, but at the same time, the fear of what it all meant made her hesitate. One evening, after finishing her shift, Anna walked into Grant's room, as she had done countless times before, but tonight felt different. The moment she entered, Grant looked up from the couch where he was sitting, a soft smile tugging at his lips. He had made remarkable progress in the last few weeks, his posture straighter, his voice clearer, his energy slowly returning, but it was the look in his eyes that made her heart skip a beat. It was the same gaze he had given her on the day he woke up, full of intensity and warmth. "Anna," he said softly, his voice almost a whisper, "come sit with me." She hesitated for a moment, her mind racing. What was he about to say? She walked over and sat down next to him on the couch, her hands nervously fidgeting in her lap. There was something in the air, something she couldn't ignore. "I've been thinking a lot," Grant began, his eyes never leaving hers, "about everything you've done for me, about how much you've helped me when no one else was around. You've been here for me in ways I didn't think were possible." Anna felt a lump form in her throat. She didn't know what to say. The emotions she had been holding back were starting to spill over. "Grant, you don't need to thank me," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "I was just doing my job." He shook his head, his expression serious. "It's more than that," he said, his hand gently reaching for hers. "I know what you've given me. It's more than just medical care. You've given me hope, Anna. You've made me feel things I haven't felt in a long time. And I'm not just talking about my recovery." Her heart raced as she felt his hand in hers. She looked up at him, meeting his gaze. His words were like a balm to her soul, but they also terrified her. Was this real? Or was it just a momentary connection in the aftermath of everything he had been through? "I'm not sure what this is," Anna whispered, "but I can't pretend I don't feel it too." Grant's eyes softened, and he squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to pretend anything. We don't know where this will go, but I want to take that journey with you, Anna. I've spent so much time trying to control everything in my life. But when I'm with you, I feel like I'm just me. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, just the man who cares about you." Anna's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just some fleeting moment of vulnerability. This was real. She had been fighting the emotions building inside her, but she could no longer deny them. "I don't know what to say," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never expected any of this. I never thought I'd feel this way about you." "You don't have to say anything," Grant replied, his voice soft. "I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know how I feel. And I want you to know that I care about you, Anna, more than I've cared about anyone in a long time." The weight of his words settled in the room, and Anna felt the tears well up in her eyes. She had been so afraid of this, afraid of what might happen if she let herself fall for him. She had always told herself that she could never be with someone like Grant, someone whose world was so different from hers. But sitting there next to him, feeling the warmth of his hand in hers, it all felt so right. Slowly, she allowed herself to relax, to stop fighting the feelings that had been building up inside her. "I'm scared," Anna admitted, her voice shaking. "I'm scared of what this means, of what will happen if we try to be something more than what we are now." Grant smiled gently, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "I'm scared too," he said softly. "But I think we can figure this out together." The words hung in the air between them, and for the first time, Anna felt like she wasn't alone. She wasn't just a nurse taking care of a patient anymore. She was someone who mattered to him, and that was a feeling she had never experienced before. As they sat there in the quiet, Anna knew that the path ahead wouldn't be easy. They came from two different worlds, and there would be challenges along the way. But for the first time, she felt like they might just be able to overcome them, together. The days that followed were filled with quiet moments and deep conversations, as Anna and Grant began to navigate the new dynamic between them. It was a delicate balance. Anna, still a nurse at the hospital, and Grant, now slowly regaining his strength, no longer just her patient, but someone she was starting to care about in ways she hadn't imagined. Despite their growing connection, there were still many uncertainties. Grant was a billionaire, a man who had built an empire from the ground up, and Anna was just a nurse trying to make ends meet. The gap between their worlds was impossible to ignore. But every time they spoke, every shared moment, the distance between them seemed to shrink just a little. One evening, after finishing her shift, Anna decided to visit Grant's private home. It was the first time she had agreed to come over for something that wasn't related to his recovery. As she arrived, she was greeted by a housekeeper who led her to the living room. The house was grand, filled with elegant furniture and artwork that spoke of wealth and status. Anna felt out of place, but at the same time, she couldn't shake the feeling that something in her life had changed. She followed the housekeeper down a hallway, past several rooms, until they reached a study where Grant was sitting. He was reading something on his laptop, his posture relaxed, but when he saw Anna, a smile spread across his face. "I'm glad you could make it," he said warmly, standing to greet her. "I thought it might be nice to have dinner together. Just the two of us." Anna smiled, her heart fluttering slightly at the sight of him. "I'd like that," she replied, though she still felt nervous, unsure of how to act in such an unfamiliar setting. The two of them sat down at a long dining table, the lights dimmed, creating a cozy atmosphere. As they ate, they talked about everything and nothing, their favorite books, the places they wanted to visit, the small things that made them happy. But as the evening wore on, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She could feel the weight of their different lives pressing down on her. She had never been in a relationship like this before, and the idea of being with someone like Grant felt overwhelming at times. He was kind, yes, but he was also someone who could have anyone he wanted. She was just a nurse. "Grant, I don't know how this is supposed to work," Anna said softly, breaking the silence. "I care about you. I really do, but I don't know if I'm the right person for you. I'm not like the people you're used to being around." Grant looked at her with a mixture of understanding and concern. "Anna, I don't care about that," he said firmly. "I don't care about your job or your background. All I care about is you. Who you are, what you've done for me, and how you've made me feel. You've been there for me when I needed someone, and that means more than anything else." His words hit Anna harder than she expected. She had been so focused on the differences between them, on the obstacles that seemed insurmountable, that she hadn't stopped to think about the one thing that truly mattered, their connection. "I want to be with you, Anna," Grant continued, his voice sincere. "I know it's not going to be easy, but I believe we can make it work. We don't have to have all the answers right now. All I want is the chance to be with you, to see where this can go." Anna looked at him, her heart racing. She wanted to believe him, to trust that they could figure this out. But there was still a part of her that was scared of getting hurt, scared of losing herself in a relationship that felt so different from anything she had ever known. "What if it doesn't work?" Anna asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if we're just setting ourselves up for failure?" Grant reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "Then we'll figure it out together," he said, squeezing her hand gently. "I don't want to live my life wondering what could have been. I'd rather take a chance on us, on you." The sincerity in his eyes, the warmth of his touch, made Anna's heart swell. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she wasn't alone. She didn't have all the answers, and she didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. She didn't want to let go of what they had. "Okay," she whispered, finally letting go of her fears. "Let's take this chance. Together." As she looked into Grant's eyes, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it side by side. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but it would be theirs to travel. And that was enough for Anna, for now. As the days turned into weeks, Anna and Grant settled into a rhythm that, though unfamiliar, began to feel right. They spent their time together whenever possible, whether it was during quiet moments in the hospital, when Anna would visit Grant after her shifts, or on weekends when they would explore the city together. The connection between them was undeniable, and despite the doubts that Anna had carried with her, she started to see just how much they truly meant to each other. One afternoon, as they walked through a park, the cool breeze brushing their faces, Anna felt a warmth inside her that she hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't just the love she was starting to feel for Grant, but a sense of peace, of belonging, that she hadn't realized she was missing. "You know," she said, breaking the silence, "I never really thought I would be here, like this, with you. I mean, I always thought my life was going to be about just getting by, doing my job, and nothing more. Grant turned to her, a soft smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "And now," he asked, his voice gentle. "And now I feel like I'm starting to believe that I deserve more," Anna replied, looking at him with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. "Like I deserve something bigger than just survival." Grant stopped walking, turning to face her fully. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Anna, you deserve everything. You deserve happiness, love, and everything this world has to offer. Don't ever think you don't." Anna felt her heart swell in her chest, the weight of his words sinking in. She had spent so much of her life doubting herself, feeling like she was never enough, never worthy of the kind of love and life that Grant was offering her. But standing there with him, looking into his eyes, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could believe that it was possible. Anna started, but she couldn't find the words. "I just want to be happy," she finally whispered, her voice full of emotion. "And I think maybe I could be happy with you." Grant's eyes softened, and he pulled her into an embrace. He held her close, his hands gently running through her hair as she rested her head against his chest. "You will be," he murmured. "I'll make sure of it." In that moment, Anna realized that she was no longer just the nurse who had helped him in the rain, no longer just the woman who had been afraid to open her heart. She was someone who could allow herself to love, to trust, and to believe that she deserved the kind of happiness that Grant was offering. But life, as it often does, had a way of throwing curveballs when things seemed to be going well. Just a few days later, as Anna was leaving the hospital, she received a call from her sister, who had been struggling with her own personal issues. Her sister had been in and out of trouble for years, and Anna had always felt responsible for her, trying to take care of her even when it felt like too much. "Anna, I need your help," her sister said, her voice frantic. "I don't know where else to turn." Anna's heart sank. She could hear the desperation in her sister's voice, and she knew what that meant. Her sister had gotten herself into trouble again. Anna had always been the one to fix things for her, to put her own needs aside to take care of others. But this time, as she stood outside the hospital, staring at her phone, she realized that she couldn't keep sacrificing herself for someone who wasn't willing to help herself. She took a deep breath, her mind racing. She needed to help her sister, but she also needed to start thinking about herself, about her future with Grant. As much as she wanted to be there for her family, she knew that she couldn't keep living in a constant state of emotional exhaustion. She had to draw a line somewhere. "I'll be there, but I need you to promise me that you'll start taking responsibility for your own life," Anna said, her voice firm, yet filled with compassion. "I can't keep doing this for you." After the call ended, Anna stood in silence for a few moments, letting the weight of her decision sink in. She had just set a boundary, something she had never done before. It felt freeing, yet frightening at the same time. As she walked back into the hospital, her thoughts were a whirlwind. She knew the path ahead wasn't going to be easy, and there were still many hurdles to overcome, both with her sister and with her relationship with Grant. But for the first time, Anna felt like she was taking control of her life. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was learning to live, to love, and to trust in the future she could build with Grant by her side. As Anna walked back into the hospital after the call with her sister, a sense of determination settled within her. She had made a decision, one that, for the first time in a long time, felt like it was for her. Setting boundaries with her sister, though difficult, was a necessary step toward protecting her own emotional well-being. She couldn't keep giving so much of herself to others and lose sight of her own needs. But as she passed through the hospital's quiet hallways, a part of her couldn't shake the anxiety that had crept in after the call. It wasn't just about her sister anymore. It was about her future with Grant. They had been growing closer with each passing day, and for the first time, Anna allowed herself to imagine a life with him. A life where she wasn't just surviving, but thriving. She thought about their conversations, the moments of vulnerability they shared, and the way Grant had made her feel more seen than she ever had before. But what would happen when the world outside their bubble came crashing in? Could they really make this work with all the challenges they faced? As she entered the break room to grab a coffee before her shift, her mind kept drifting back to the uncertainty she felt. She had always been the one to put others first, but now, with Grant, she was being asked to put herself first. Could she do it? Could she let go of her fears and truly embrace the love he was offering her? Just then, Her phone buzzed with a message from Grant. "Hey, I've been thinking about you. I know things are still complicated, but I want you to know that I'm here for you. Whatever you need. Always." Anna felt a wave of warmth spread through her. She hadn't told him about the conversation with her sister, but somehow, he knew. It was as if he had sensed the turmoil in her heart. She smiled, her fingers hovering over the keys as she typed a response. "I'm trying to figure things out. But thank you. I'm so glad I have you in my life." She hit send, feeling the weight of her emotions lift just a little. Grant was there, supporting her, without asking for anything in return. He understood the complexities of her life in a way no one else had ever done. And in that moment, Anna realized that she didn't have to do this alone. As the days passed, Anna and Grant found new ways to navigate their relationship, taking things one step at a time. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of doubt, moments when Anna wondered if she was making the right choice. But with every challenge, they found ways to support each other, to communicate openly, and to build something strong and real. Anna knew that their journey wouldn't be without its hurdles. She still had to balance her work, her responsibilities to her family, and her own personal growth. But for the first time, she didn't feel like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. Grant was there, walking beside her, sharing in the triumphs and the struggles. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of Grant's apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below them, Anna leaned her head against his shoulder. "I never thought I'd be here," she whispered, her voice soft. "I never thought I'd find someone like you. Someone who sees me, who cares about me, not for what I do, but for who I am." Grant wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. "I feel the same way," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "I never thought I'd meet someone who could make me feel like I'm not just the CEO, but someone who's worthy of love, just like everyone else. You've changed my life, Anna." Anna looked up at him, her heart full. She had always been so focused on what she lacked, on the things she couldn't control, but now she saw the beauty in the life she had built with Grant. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough. She had learned that love wasn't about perfection. It was about two people choosing to be there for each other, to build something strong despite the challenges. As the night stretched on, Anna felt a sense of peace wash over her. She knew there were still tough times ahead, but for the first time, she felt ready to face them. Together, with Grant by her side, she could face anything. And as she looked out at the city skyline, she realized that the future, no matter what it held, was something she no longer feared. She was ready to take it on, with him, and with the strength she had found within herself. As the weeks went by, Anna and Grant's relationship continued to evolve, growing stronger with each passing day. They had faced so many uncertainties together, but through it all, they found a way to make it work. Grant, despite his wealth and status, had never pressured Anna to change or be someone she wasn't. He admired her strength, her dedication, and the way she cared so deeply for others, especially those she loved. Anna, on the other hand, had never expected to feel so supported, so cherished by someone like Grant. He had shown her what it meant to be truly loved, not for what she could give, but for who she was. But even as their bond deepened, the world around them began to push back. It wasn't long before the challenges of their different worlds started to make themselves known. One evening, after a long day at work, Anna came home to find a message from her sister asking her for help again. It had been a few weeks since their last conversation, where Anna had set her boundaries, but things had not improved. Her sister's situation was becoming more complicated, and Anna felt the old guilt creeping in. She knew she couldn't keep doing this, but at the same time, she felt a responsibility to help. As she sat down on her bed, staring at the message, she began to feel overwhelmed. The tension between her commitment to her family and her growing love for Grant was becoming more apparent. She didn't want to keep dividing herself, but she didn't know how to bridge the gap. The phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Grant. "I was thinking about you," it read. "I know you're dealing with a lot right now, and I want you to know that I'm here. You don't have to do this alone. We'll figure it out, together." Anna smiled as she read his words. Grant had always been there for her, offering his support without question. But this time, as much as she appreciated him, she knew she had to be the one to find a solution. She couldn't keep relying on him to fix everything for her. She had to take responsibility for her own life, for her own choices. That night, as she lay in bed, Anna made a decision. She knew she had to talk to Grant, to share her concerns and doubts with him. It wasn't just about her family anymore. It was about the future they were building together, and she needed to make sure they were on the same page. The next evening, they sat together on the balcony of Grant's apartment, the city lights twinkling below them. Anna felt a sense of calm as she looked out over the skyline, but the conversation ahead weighed on her mind. "Grant," she began, her voice soft but steady. "There's something I need to talk to you about." He turned to her, his expression calm but attentive. "What is it?" he asked, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "It's about my sister," Anna continued. "She's in trouble again, and I'm trying to figure out how to help her. But at the same time, I don't want to keep putting my life on hold for someone who isn't willing to help herself." Grant nodded, his expression understanding. "I get it," he said gently. "You've been carrying this for so long, and it's not fair to you. But you don't have to do it alone, Anna. You're not just carrying the weight of your sister's problems. You've got me too. We're a team, and whatever you decide, I'll be right here beside you." Anna felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had been so afraid of burdening Grant with her struggles, but hearing him say that made her realize that they truly were in this together. "I don't want to lose myself in this," she said quietly. "I don't want to keep sacrificing everything for others. I want to be able to live my life with you, to build something real, without feeling like I'm constantly giving everything I have away." Grant reached out and took her hand, his grip strong and reassuring. "You don't have to sacrifice yourself for anyone, Anna. You deserve to live your life fully. And if you're going to give anything, it should be to the people who truly deserve it, yourself included." The words were simple, but they carried so much weight. Anna felt a sense of peace settle in her chest. She had been so focused on taking care of everyone else that she had forgotten to take care of herself. But with Grant by her side, she realized that she didn't have to choose between her family and her future with him. They could find a way to make it work, together. The next morning, Anna called her sister and had a difficult but honest conversation. She told her that she couldn't continue to be the one to fix everything, and that it was time for her sister to take responsibility for her own life. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Anna knew that in order to truly move forward with Grant, she had to let go of the guilt that had been holding her back. And as she looked out at the future, she realized that the life she was building was something worth fighting for, something that deserved her full heart and attention. As the weeks passed, Anna felt a sense of peace she had never known before. The weight that had once threatened to crush her, of taking care of everyone, of always putting others first, was slowly lifting. She had set boundaries with her sister, and though it wasn't easy, it was a decision that gave her a sense of control over her life. More than that, it allowed her to focus on the future she was building with Grant. Their relationship had continued to grow, not just because of the love they shared, but because of the mutual respect and support they offered each other. It wasn't perfect, there were still challenges to overcome, still moments of doubt, but they had learned to face those challenges together. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of Grant's apartment, watching the city lights below, Anna realized just how far they had come. She leaned back against the railing, her eyes closing for a moment as she breathed in the cool evening air. Grant sat beside her, his hand gently resting on hers. "You're quiet tonight," he said softly. Anna smiled, feeling a sense of contentment wash over her. "I'm just thinking about everything," she replied. "How far we've come. How much has changed. I never imagined my life could be like this." Grant squeezed her hand, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "I never imagined it either," he said quietly. "But I'm glad it is. I've never felt more alive than I do with you, Anna. You've brought out the best in me, and I don't ever want to take that for granted." Anna's heart swelled as she looked at him. She had never known what it was like to truly be loved, to feel accepted for who she was, not for what she could give. With Grant, she felt safe, safe enough to be vulnerable, to open herself up in a way she never had before. "I feel the same way," she said softly. "I never thought I'd find someone like you. Someone who sees me, who supports me, and who helps me see the possibilities in my own life." Grant turned to her, his eyes soft but intense. "You are everything I never knew I needed," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "And I want to spend the rest of my life making you feel loved and appreciated." Anna felt a lump form in her throat at his words. For so long, she had been afraid to let herself believe in love, to trust that it could be real, that it could last. But with Grant, she realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about two people choosing to be there for each other, through the good and the bad, through the ups and the downs. It was about creating a life together, one step at a time. I want that too, Anna whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I want to spend my life with you. I want to build something real, something lasting. As the night grew darker, the city lights below them twinkling like stars, Grant stood up and extended his hand to Anna. Then let's do it, he said, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Let's build our future together, one moment at a time. Anna took his hand, her heart racing with excitement and hope. She knew there would be challenges ahead. They were from different worlds, and life had a way of throwing curveballs when least expected. But she also knew that with Grant by her side, she could face anything. Together, they had already proven that they could overcome anything. As they stood together on the balcony, hand in hand, Anna felt a sense of certainty that she had never known before. This was the life she had always dreamed of, one filled with love, support, and the promise of a future full of endless possibilities. And with Grant, she knew that no matter what came their way, they would face it together, side by side.